What's up, everyone? Joe Gray here today with another AMA warm up. Today I am joined by David from Gorilla Strength. David, what's up, dude?
What you up to, man?
Hey, it is what's today? Thursday of spring break. We've been hanging out in the garage. When it's spring break, me and my daughter get to lift a little bit more than normal. So normally she does workouts on the weekend with my wife and some of her soccer buddies and stuff. But on spring break during the summer, she gets to hang out and party with dad. And so we benched on Monday or benched on Tuesday and then deadlifted yesterday. And so that's always a fun one. So I got a picture of her deadlifting on her little mini platform that I set up for her, and then me deadlifting on my platform behind her. And so, yeah, spring break's always a fun one. Weather's kind of wonky. It's going back and forth between it thinks it's spring, but then it may be going back to winter. I don't know. So it tends to be California spring weirdness. So yeah, that's all good on this end. You?
Well, we've had a lot of rain here the last couple weeks, and now it's finally getting to be spring. I'm Me and my family are outdoor people,
Yep.
so coming out of the winter time, it's my favorite time of the year to get out. Yeah, we don't have California weather,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
but and we don't have an ocean, but we've got a lot of creeks and hollers and a lot of wood. And so that's where me and the wife this weekend, that's where we're going to be this weekend is
Nice.
I may talk her into going camping, but yeah, just enjoying, there's something grounding in getting out and just touching Mother Earth
Yeah.
and experiencing nature.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we like most of the time when we go on vacation, we actually go up north
Hmm.
to some of the like the redwood areas in California.
Yes, yes.
And we really like going out on a beach and having like nobody else there. And normally you've got on a hoodie because it's still cold, even though it's,
Mhm.
summertime and stuff. And just walking around and just being able to sit there and just go, huh, this is cool. Like, and just no thoughts in your brain, no nothing. It's just, yeah, I agree. It's very nice. So,
Yep,
yep. No. All right, man, let's get down to business, huh? So,
yep, absolutely.
we're here for your AMA warm up. So, let's tell the people who you are. So, our first question is, who are you? Why are you here?
I am David with Gorilla Strength Equipment. Why am I here? That's a that's a good question. I have no idea why anybody would be interested. No, uh, we've been building fitness equipment for selling it online for about 15 years. Been building for about 20. Uh, we primarily focus on a small number of products, but we'd also do some custom equipment stuff. But honestly, primarily why I'm here and why I'm building fitness equipment is because of my family. Uh, Before I embarked on building fitness equipment, I had some high pressure jobs. I worked in industry a lot, designing some automations. Uh, Factories are really big around here. So whenever they started industrializing, was a big part of designing some of the equipment that they were using. And I just decided one day that I wanted to open a gym, and we did. And growing up, I'd always made my own fitness equipment, so that was something I was accustomed to. And several of my other habits and hobbies really tied in with a gym atmosphere. I feel like I'm getting distracted. Talk down.
Uh,
Um, but it's the reason I'm here is because uh, I wanted to have a business that I could incorporate my family.
yeah,
And what Gorilla Strength is my realization of that dream. My son works in the shop with me. My wife works in the shop with me. My daughter helps, and it's an honest way to have a family experience and to make money and to support yourself. Uh, the fitness world has been so great to us, and ultimately, the main reason we do what we do is because we want to have a job that we can be together and work together and have a positive impact on other people's lives. And building fitness equipment, I never really thought it was that until COVID hit, and then everybody else shut down and we stayed open. And people that wanted to come in and work out and buy stuff, it was a great time for us because we did well, but we also was building stuff for people that couldn't get it anywhere else.
Yeah.
And that was whenever me and my wife we really started to realize that the business that we have isn't just something that lives in a vacuum. It's something that touches other people's lives, and it's just like our grip trainer. There's other things, other ways of training grip, but we make one that it's it's I think on Amazon it's one of the highest reviewed ones. Uh, I've been making it since I was 13 years old, so I'm getting ready to turn 50. So I've got you know close to 37 years in building it, uh, and it's something that a lot of people. If I didn't make that product, there actually wouldn't be one on the market that was like that one.
Yeah.
And stuff like that's uh, it is it may be like not great for me to say this, but I've got skills I can make money in a lot of different industries.
Sure.
But I would have to choose between time with my family. I would have to choose between what I feel like is worthy and worthwhile work. And I haven't found anything that I would rather do with my skills in my life than do what I'm doing.
Yeah. I I have had a very similar conversation with people before. So, background for me is, corporate HR and stuff,
Yeah.
and I liked what I did for a long time. Company got bought out. I didn't like it anymore. And for a while, I really had a negative like view of the company that bought us, because it was
Mhm.
this like kind of victim mentality of, um, hey, you ruined a good thing and all these different things. And then at some point it flipped and I went, man, if they had not done what they did, I'd still be working at the other
Yeah.
company in the office, working hours away from my family and the whole deal. And instead, I get to do this. I get to be at home doing my thing. I get to share it with my daughter. My daughter has learned how to use the camera and take pictures and she,
Yeah.
all these different things. And, she shows up from home and goes, oh, we got a new bench that we get to test and stuff, right? Like all these different things. And I tell people all the time, I go, I make I make enough to make it worth it to do.
Yeah.
Um, but I turned down way more money to go, that could have been working in an office, right? But it would
Yeah.
have been 60 hours not at home, a week, and then showing up and trying to figure out how I have some involvement in my family's lives and whatever, and all the things I wouldn't get to do, like take my daughter to school every morning and coach her sports teams and stuff. Like all that would be out the window. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Well,
I'm I'm
there's
with
a
you.
there's another aspect that I think goes along with that that shocked me during COVID, and I hate to reflect back on that, but for me, that was a life changing introspective. Okay,
Yep.
so I had assumptions of how people in the world work, and then most of those assumptions got shifted, altered, or had to change to accommodate reality. And one of those was I remember a conversation that I was watching happen online. And this lady was talking about how she hated for her daughter, she was working from home. She hated her daughter to have to watch how people talked to her and what she had to live with by how people treated her. And that bothered her seeing what she had to do to make money. And that was one of those things that really kind of hit me as like, you know, first of all, I think children should see their parents work. I think
Yeah.
children should know how hard their parents. That way, you can't appreciate something if you think somebody, if there's a money tree that your parents are picking money off of. You know what I mean? You can't appreciate that. So that I thought, was good that the kid was seeing. She hated it. She thought it was horrible. And second was how someone would treat you and what you would put up with. And I've seen, I live in a town with an unemployment rate of about 8%. And it's probably closer to 12. And it has to do because we were a heavily industrial area, city. I said country, I meant county. A county that's, got an unemployment rate of 8 to 12%. Officially 8, more than likely 12. Uh, and people put up with a lot of mistreatment by other people so that they can pay their bills.
Yeah,
And I've seen that. That's I went to. So one of the things I would do in factories is I would. I've wore a lot of hats in my life. I've had electrical license, HVAC license, CDL. Uh, I graduated as a software engineer. Started in my first company and sold it by the time I was 25. It's called Southern Kentucky Satellite. I've done a lot of things. So whenever I was working in factories, one of the things that they would do would I had a guy at Extreme Fabrication. He would contract me to come in and fix problems. So I would come into a factory to fix a problem. And this one guy, he enjoyed the authority and the power that being over other people gave him.
sure.
And I seen him one day. He was talking to me because instantly you kind of get on the inside loop with people whenever you're a specialist or whatever. And he said, "Look at that kid." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, look at that." I think he did call him a kid. And I mean, like, okay, he had him digging in a dumpster and digging parts out of a dumpster. And he said that kid's going to be in that dumpster until he quits. So every day he had that kid literally cleaning, you know, digging stuff out of a dumpster because he had the power to do it. And I've run onto a lot of people like that in my lifetime. And whenever that conversation happened, uh, I was listening to her, and I could see how that people that have to have a job are very easily taken advantage of by people who like to power trip over and will talk to them in mean, degrading ways. Uh, and that's one of the reasons, I hate it, but I think everybody should be in a situation where that they get to have and pursue a career and a job that they enjoy.
Yeah,
And I hate it that some people aren't in this situation. Uh, and I was, whenever, I was coming in and troubleshooting things, you know, I had a few times when people would do that to me because the problem they had. I'll give you a for instance. So we were trying to troubleshoot this one conveyor system, and I was standing there working on it, and there was probably 10 people standing around while I tried to figure out how to time the. It was a ladder logic system, and it was just having a breakdown in removing chips from this conveyor. They worked on it forever, hadn't been able to figure it out. They had contracted my friend. My friends had called me in to look at it, and it was costing them $10,000 a minute. And they had those people, standing around trying to see if I was going to need help on it. And that had some really hard conversations to try to figure out, how quick to fix it. And I got talked to pretty rough, but the truth of it was nobody else there could fix it either. And you know what I'm saying? And that's literally, what I told them. I said, listen, if you've got somebody else, send them on it. But, you know, we'll get it fixed. But it's in that particular situation, the guy ended up. It wasn't my fault, but there was a. Well, I'll tell you what happened to it. This is probably here nor there. This fellow had got caught in this chip conveyor machine. Okay, what this is it milled these parts, and the hydraulic fluid flushed it into a big vat. So you got this nasty hydraulic fluid that's got an auger that pulls it into this big reservoir. Now this big conveyor made a circle, and it would scrape all these chips on the bottom. We've got a magnet underneath of it, so the chips will uh, stick to the magnet and be moved away. Well, this guy, the maintenance crew, had was doing maintenance on this machine, and they thought they had it locked out and shut down. This guy was inside this machine in an index, almost cut his arm off. So they didn't know why it had power on it. They go over there and they start cutting a hole in it. This guy's I was standing over there by him. There was another guy literally holding his hand up out of the hydraulic fluid so the guy could breathe. And it took about 2 hours to cut him to get him out of the machine. So, I'm working on that machine, trying to figure out what happened, and they're chewing me out. I mean, I don't even work for them. And I told the guy, I said, "Listen, man, I'm not going to get anywhere near anything on that machine that moves until I figure out 100% why that guy got caught in the machine."
Yeah.
And that was one of the times that I decided I've got to get out of here. The pressure's too much. I don't enjoy what I'm doing, and the people didn't care. We had another situation where a platform was supposed to hold people over bowling bats of acid. I mean, literally, they were plating something, dipping it, acid dipping it. It had a phosphate wash that it went into and then got plated and things. And the platform, there's no way the platform would hold what they were putting on it. And you know, it's just I've run into several situations like that, and I'm like, I don't want the pressure. I don't care how much money I make. I want to do something I enjoy.
Yeah.
I want to do something I feel like I'm adding a positive influence to people's lives. And I thought about my son going back to that previous conversation with that lady, that I watched online. I thought I want my son to see me work.
Yeah.
And not only do I want my son to see me work, I want to make sure my son knows how to work.
Yeah.
Because my son approached me going to college and he says, "Dad, he was tripping out over what school he was going into." And I said, "Son," I said, "there's three things in life that I will guarantee you that if you have, you will be okay." I said, "Number one, are you afraid to try new things?" And he's like, "No." I said, "Number two, are you willing to work and learn whatever it is you need to work and learn to do whatever you want to do?" And he's like, "Not if I want to do it." I said, "All right. Number three, are you willing to work hard at whatever that thing is that you do? If you're willing to do those three things, you're going to beat 90% of the people out there."
Yeah.
And I said, as far as college, go, don't go, I don't really care that much because my main concern is, are you going to be okay? Are you
Yeah.
going to be able to feed yourself? Are you going to be able to feed your family? And that's what I wanted to make sure that he had. And that's why that I incorporated my family so much with this and why I chose this business. The margins from uh, a perspective of what makes money is here. And we can go into that sometime. It's hilarious because a lot of the companies that are in the fitness industry are not even fitness companies. They're what's called a retail arbitrage company. Uh, so that's something that honestly is has been blowing my mind is that a lot of the fitness companies that's out there actually can't even make a fitness product.
Yeah.
What they do is they go to another market where that product is way undervalued and cheap, and they buy it in that market, and then they come over and they mark it up 500%, which a lot of these a lot of these products are marked up 500%, and then they bring it to the U.S. and then they sell it. And I mean, is that a fitness company? If they don't know how to make fitness equipment,
Yeah.
they literally can't make it. Like, I don't know if that's a fitness company. I'm just being honest.
I
If I
got
go to you, if you're, go
I got
ahead.
a couple of them in my head of who you're talking about. So
Well, I mean, I'm not isolating anybody, okay?
yeah,
I'm just saying, think about this. If you need a doctor and you go to a doctor and the doctor says, I got you. And then he goes and he gets somebody else and that person does it for you. And then he walks in and says, hey, man, I fixed you.
yeah,
It's like, no, you didn't. Are
uh,
you really a doctor?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The
That's,
one I use as an example all the time was Titan, right? And so a lot of people have told me they've gotten better over the years, and but early on, their background was in like tractors and stuff, right? And so trailers, those kinds of things, and they had a connection to cheap steel. So they
yeah.
pivoted to, hey, we can turn that into home gym equipment. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they don't know what a safety squat bar is, right? They don't know what a power rack is actually used for. They don't know any of that. So all they did was they talked to the person who made their stuff and said, "Hey, this is what a rack is, right? Make it."
Yeah.
And so weirdly enough, the holes didn't line up, right? So you couldn't use safeties at all. The J cups broke because they didn't actually understand that, oh, hey, all the load comes crashing down
Yeah.
on it. When they made a safety squat bar, they gave it pads, handles, and a camber. Well, they didn't understand that the
Yeah.
camber has to be offset from the pads, so then that way
Yeah.
the pads sit on your shoulder and the weight comes down, right? It was all in line. So people put it on their back and it's just cranking down on their neck and stuff, and they're like, "This is painful." Yeah, because you bought a $75 safety squat bar from a company that doesn't know what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
And so there's been quite a few companies that have done that over the years in the same
Look,
space for what you're saying. They themselves are not lifters. They're not
yeah.
fitness. They're not manufacturing anything. They just went to someone and said, "Make me one of those," and they did, without knowing what it is, what it's for, how it works, anything. Oh,
Well, it's a business model. You
yeah,
know, that is, you can take a person who does that and you can put them in any business.
yeah,
What they're looking for is they're trying to isolate one area that has a price for that item that is considered the fair market value of that item. And they're trying to find another place who considers the fair market value of that item to be different. And they
yeah,
exploit the differences.
yeah,
That's it. I mean,
yeah,
so uh, that's one of the things uh, about the home gym community that that it's not as much there as it used to be, and that's kind of saddened me. Uh, you know, whenever I first got on Reddit, the home gym, like our home gym, our grip strength, they were real small. I
yeah,
mean, I think home gym had 10 to 18,000 people in it,
yeah.
maybe 30,
When I
and
first stepped up as a moderator, it was 40. So
yeah, it may have been. It was in that ballpark. It was
yeah,
not many, and I've actually had two accounts there. One of them is under the Pain Factory, which I couldn't log into, and now I created another one, and that one is probably 10, 12 years old. Uh, and it just seems like the earlier community had a lot more of it just it seemed like they called. I know people call stuff out, but it seemed like so Dean. You know, I like Dean. Have a tremendous amount of respect for him. Anybody that works with their hands, creates stuff, uh, and pursues that type of life, I have respect for them. And whether they're in the fitness industry or not, I grew up, you know, I mean, around hardworking people, and anytime I see somebody out getting dirty and doing jobs that other people don't want to do, gets mad respect. But early on, I had several people uh, say something about making a Viking press, and I've made four Viking presses in my entire life, and all four of them have been different than what he built. And in the home gym community, I remember the Viking press being first showing up there, and people was attributing it to Dean and stuff like that. And then when the first couple came out, I think Ty knocked it off. Um, people was noticed that it was you know it was something that the community really did recognize. And then somewhere along the lines, everybody just really got comfortable with, you know, it went into that who's cheaper.
Hmm.
And I understand that. I understand people's gotta fight for their dollar. Everybody does. But reflecting back on that conversation with that lady, you know, how where you're getting stuff from and how they treat their workers and their people matters. And I'm not saying everybody is treated bad in certain places and certain things, but if you can spend a percentage more, 10%, 20%, and get something that's made by someone's hands, then if I can choose to pay you and your hands make something, I would rather pay you and know that the money I'm giving is going to you. Just to wrap up, I think it's important that authenticity of people is something that I value, and I love seeing authenticity in the home gym community. One of the things that I don't like seeing that's in the home gym community now is people that just want to show off. It's they don't. It doesn't seem like that they're interested in working out as much as they are. Look what I bought. Look what I
Sure.
own. Because I grew up around people like that. I grew up, in a four-room house that didn't have a bathroom. You had a house you had to go to. They built a bathroom on to the house once I was a little bit older. So, people buying stuff to show you what they've got, how much money they've got, how much they can spend on this and that. Got no time for people like that.
I'm with
Honestly, I
you.
don't want to sell people stuff like it's like if you're somebody like that, don't buy it from me because
Yeah.
I don't want to work hard to make a product so that somebody can show off. I want to work hard and make a product so somebody that wants to use it can use it for the rest of their life. Their kids can use it, and their grandkids can use it. And that's one of the things that uh, it seems like that there's a part of the home gym community that's kind of, and I'm not saying you can't have nice things to work out. Have nice things to work out.
Yeah.
Somebody's buying something, and it seems like I see a lot of that. Is just to show the world how much money they got.
Yep. I'm with you. Yeah, I have a couple of videos on my YouTube where I kind of bust some balls around some of that
Yeah,
stuff, right? And so
yeah,
the one I have is around barbells. And so I bought it was literally like a $45 crappy bar from Walmart, right? And I went,
yeah,
okay, I'm gonna run a science experiment. I'm gonna see can this thing hold up to my lifting, right?
mhm,
So I ended up squatting, I think it was 500 with it, benching 315 for a triple or something, and deadlifting like 530 for almost a double. It slipped out of my
yeah,
hands because the knurling was terrible, right? And so I told people, I go, look, there's nothing wrong with wanting a nicer barbell. Nicer things are nicer. But we need to remember what we bought this stuff for in the first place, or
yeah,
I would say, in theory, bought the stuff for, right? Um, you should be buying things to help you pursue that goal of whatever your fitness
yeah,
outlet is, right? More muscle, less fat, bigger PRs,
yeah,
feeling better, looking better, keeping up with your kids, whatever it might be, right? Health,
yeah,
wellness, whatever stuff you
yeah,
have. But like losing track of that piece, I see people and I'm like, you've got $25,000 spent on your gym and you've been lifting for a month. You
Yeah.
went you flipped that so hard like that. I don't have a problem with 25 grand on the gym, but I have a problem with, what's Louis Simmons used to say, was it don't have was it a dollar squat and $100 shoes or something like that?
Yeah.
And so yeah, and I don't, I also tell people, I go, I don't expect everyone to have the same goals that I do, right? You don't have
Yeah.
to look
Well,
jacked. You don't have to have a 500-pound squat or something, but like, at least are you actively moving towards that, or are you just acquiring things?
well,
So,
I've, some of the people I sell equipment to, I've sold equipment to very famous people, very wealthy people, and people that are barely scraping by.
yeah.
Actually, I've got a guy that orders something from me every month and is in jail and is not going to be out for 2 years.
Hmm.
And he has it shipped to his house. So, he'll come up with some custom ideas. So whenever he gets out, he wants. So that's part of his motivation. If,
Interesting.
if yeah, if you want to buy a barbell and that new barbell motivates you to work out,
Yep.
buy it. I mean,
Yep.
get it. But if you're going to buy that barbell, make a video of it, say, and post it on the home gym groups and say, "Look, I've got this new $10,000 gold-plated barbell," and put it up and never use it, then why did you buy it in the first place?
Yeah.
You bought it not because you wanted to work out, because you wanted to impress people.
Yeah.
And I get it that it's. I don't think a fitness somebody that builds fitness equipment should probably say that, but you know, it's like you know that's I
It,
don't get it, and I don't want to get it.
it, it's
I don't want to understand
it's the same deal as me being we'll call it influencer, right, or content
that. Yeah,
creator, or whatever the right term is. The correct approach from my business stance would be to tell you to buy everything, right?
yeah, yeah,
Make sure you use every affiliate link I have and discount code and buy everything from everybody and run your, savings into the ground so then that way I can get, all your percentages, right?
yeah, yeah.
But I've talked people out of things, even things that I like. I've had
Hmm.
conversations with people and go, don't buy it. It's not the right thing for you, right? Deadlift bars. I got a buddy I talk to all the time on Instagram, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about buying a deadlift bar." And I go, why do you want to buy one?" Which like I have one and I love it. And he goes, "Well, I want my back to hurt less after deadlifts." And
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
"Well, if you're gonna buy a Texas deadlift bar or Kabuki or whoever, Rogue, whatever," I go, "that might make your back feel worse." And he's like, "Oh," and I go, "Dude, you're adding whip, which is
yeah,
movement, into the bar." And he said, "And if
yeah,
your technique isn't locked down in the first place and your back hurts when you're lifting with a stiff bar, adding more movement and complexity
yeah,
to that lift is going to make it worse, not better." I'm like, "So please don't go spend $450 on a bar thinking that that's going to solve whatever your back issue is."
yeah,
And so, and I could have very easily been like, "That's a great idea. Here's my affiliate link to Rogue's Deadlift Bar, right? Thanks
yeah,
for $25 kind of thing." But
yeah,
that's just not, I've never been that way, and I don't want to be for a very similar reason, like you were saying earlier. Like, I want to do a job that I enjoy and be able to pay my bills, but I also want to like, I want my daughter to see the way that I think life
yeah,
should be and people
yeah,
should run a business and everything, as opposed to just make $1 billion and then
yeah.
screw everyone in the process. So,
It's not about the money. There takes a certain amount of money to live and survive. I mean, that's just life and retire. But last thing I want to do is teach my kids that it's all about money. You know, that's not what I want to.
yep,
That's not what I want to do. Because
yep,
then what do they do whenever it doesn't come easy to
yep.
them? And so, what else you got?
Uh,
Been like,
I told you in the beginning, so everyone listening.
yeah,
I told David. I said we weren't going to go down a path of covering everything about his life, and then we ended up here. So hopefully,
well, we still got a lot left.
hopefully,
I was a baby, and when I was
yeah.
born,
All right, man.
the doctor slapped my mom.
So we covered number one. So who are you? Why are
Yeah,
you here? We covered, I think, number three, which is your experience with the home gym community. So
yeah.
let's tackle number two, which is tell me about your lifting experience. So when did you start
Oh wow.
lifting? What did that look like? How's it transitioned over the years? Where are you at now?
I started lifting. I was about 13 years old. I lived in rural Kentucky, so I had to make my own weight. Uh, very first lifting experience. One of my friends had got a concrete weight set, and he had it about 6 months longer than me. Went to spend the night at his house. Had like 120 pounds on it, something like that. He done it for several reps. I'd always been stronger than him, so I thought I'd jump down and do it. He lifted the weight off. It practically caved my chest in, and that was not going to work. So I started working out. Uh, a lot of what back whenever I started working out, there wasn't an internet, so uh, anytime we went to town, which was not very often, I would try to get a muscle and fitness magazine, and I would look at the workouts, and then I would go home and try to build the equipment, primarily out of wood at that point. Uh, then my grandfather taught me how to weld with a stick welder, and I'd help prepare just different things. Uh, then I started using metal to build stuff with. Whenever I got into boxing and wrestling and stuff, it was I got pretty big into that, and I started making more advanced equipment along that time to supplement motions and movement that I saw that was beneficial to boxing and wrestling. Bruce Lee is a huge influence in my life, so got into martial arts and things like that, and that I made was first modeled off of interview Bruce Lee gave, and I made that was one of my first projects that I welded together, and I was about 13 at that point, and then I had a career where I done jujitsu, competed in boxing, wrestling, and jujitsu for a good period of time. Uh, decided that I did pretty well at that, but I decided that it was just like anytime I go to a seminary, it's a religion. Anytime that I would go to a seminar, I would notice like Carlson Gracie Sr. I was at several of his seminars. He was broke down, and all of the old Gracie Jiu-Jitsu family members was broke down, and all the black belts were just, I mean, they were in their 40s. I was in my, you know, late teens, early 20s, and I mean, they was broke down, and I thought I don't want to do that. So that's whenever I kind of got out of the competition realm. Is I didn't want to, I didn't want to end up in the same situation, place that they were in. So that's that's whenever I transitioned to college, and I actually got a job fabricating and to help supplement my education. And eventually, one thing led to another, and I found myself with money and free time. That's after I sold the first company I developed, and I opened the gym. It was free to the kids and stuff. Any of the kids that was in high school got to come after school for free. Uh, I think I may have mentioned how ravished this area was with lack of employment. Well, along with lack of employment becomes drugs. Somebody doesn't have a job, they get depressed, and the next thing you know, they turn to drugs and alcohol, which meant that we had a lot of kids wandering around without father figures. And so I opened a gym where that we focused on the boxing and wrestling. And I started making equipment again. And we would have people come to the gym and say, where did you get this? Uh, and I'd be like, well, I made it. And I was making specific things like sleds and stuff like that, specific for our workouts and what, the training that we was doing. And we had guys compete, from amateur to professional level. in mixed martial arts. Uh, but that's whenever I decided to use some of the skills that I gathered in IT to start selling stuff online, and that really it really took off better. And at the same time, while I was doing the gym, I was actually moonlighting with uh, trying to help people fix problems in industry. Uh, but the gym was always the place my heart was, and everything else I did was just to make money to support the gym. Because whenever you let kids train for free, adults a lot of times don't like to be around a gym full of kids. So the kids and allowing kids to train for free actually put a greater financial burden on my family. So I had to take on jobs and roles doing things that I really didn't want to do. But eventually, the fitness equipment got to a point where I told my wife, and my wife, she uh, is super supportive. I can't imagine being with a more supportive woman. But I said, it's going to be a meek living for a while, but I can grow this into a business. And she knew that I'd done it before, so she knew I could do it again. And so I started building it as a business. And it took 5 years, but after 5 years, I was making basically the same that I walked away from. And that you know, for that 5 years, we ate Doritos and bologna sandwiches. And I know it sounds stupid, but I hunted a lot of times. I'm from Kentucky. We eat what we kill, and we kill what we eat. A lot of times, we got a lot of that. Uh, but my son came along at about that time whenever I started making that transition. So when my son was born, that was a big transition to me because I'm like, I've got to live a life that I would be proud if he had, and I thought I'm not doing that right now. So anyway, after about 5 years, we got where I basically was awash what I walked away from and what I was making, and we've been I can't explain uh, how much of a wonderful choice this being a part of this company and incorporating with my family that it's been for us.
Awesome. Great story. All right, man. So let's pivot into basically just the next piece off of that. You've made a ton of stuff over the years. What's your favorite thing? What's your favorite thing you've
I
made?
was all right. My favorite thing that I've made. Most of the cool stuff I make, I don't sell. I'm a hoarder. I keep it private. And basically, if I put it online, somebody's going to knock it off, which is
Sure.
great. Then I'm like, I don't know. Um, but I've got one of the workouts that I used to enjoy doing, still enjoy doing, is taking a medicine ball and throwing it against the wall. So you can get a phenomenal workout if you've got a medicine ball. You can toss it one handed. You can do unilateral work. You can turn around with a wall facing your back, throw it over your shoulders, throw it directly over your head. You get a lot of ballistic training that way. Uh, but the problem is, if you stand next to a wall and you walk away 5 foot, and you throw a medicine ball and hit it, the ball hits you and it falls straight down. Now, walking back, picking the ball up sucks. So, my favorite thing that I've ever made is it is a very heavily well built wall. So, it looks like a basketball goal, and you throw the ball, medicine ball, 20-pound ball, throw it as hard as you want at it. And it just hits a platform, rolls back, waist level. So you can sit here and just absolutely, all your effort goes straight into your explosive motions and movement without having to waste any time doing the hard walk back to the wall, pick up the ball, without doing any of the noise work. That's probably my favorite thing. But it probably wouldn't make a good thing for a home gym. But you can get so many single sided tosses, uh, ab workout. You can do so many things. That is one of the most functionally training pieces of equipment that I've ever used, and it feels great using.
Awesome.
So
Yeah, we were talking before we hit record a little bit about the uh, downsides of the big three, squat, bench, deadlift type stuff,
Yeah,
of it being so like up, down, whatever, and
yeah,
introducing stuff to your workouts that is kind of
yeah,
anti that. Rotational, we, um, everything is anti-rotation, which is important,
yeah,
right? So if you're gonna put 500 pounds on your back, you gotta not, twist and
yeah,
turn and crumple onto it. But if all
yeah,
you ever learn is this, right, all the time, you're missing the whole fact that your body's supposed to twist and turn and move and stretch and whatever. And so adding in strongman stuff where you're picking up and you're moving with
yeah.
it, you're lifting it overhead and throwing it, medicine ball work where you're tossing it, jumping, running, leaping, whatever. I remember Kelly Starrett at one point used to say, he goes, just go out and play, right? Play a
Yeah.
sport, play with your kids, whatever. I go to a trampoline park with my daughter every Tuesday, and that alone has been phenomenal for me in terms of my mobility and just general abilities of being like a
Yeah.
functional human being.
Well, I'll
So,
tell you, I've got a friend, and I'm not going to say his name because gee whiz, it would embarrass the crap out of him. That was a weird thing to say. Oh, anytime you do, in my opinion, anytime that you do work where that you don't factor in some instability, uh, you know, uh, instability, some twisting motion and stuff, you're actually making yourself somewhat more susceptible to injury because you're overdeveloping your body in certain ways and you're underdeveloping it in other ways.
sure.
So one of my friends, strong dude, really strong dude, he tweaked his back picking up a roll of toilet paper. I'm not joking. He was sitting on the toilet. He got the roll of toilet paper. It dropped, rolled across the floor. He said he bent forward real quick, to grab it. And he said, tweaked his lower back.
Yep.
And that's the type of, I mean, this is a guy that deadlifts 600 pounds for rep.
Yep.
It's that motion since everything had been doing was in, I mean, optimizing for core
Yep.
stability and not this weird dynamic crap, the toilet paper, and then
Yep.
just lunge forward at an awkward angle to grab
Yep.
something, tweaked his back. So,
Yep.
uh, anyway, that's
Yeah. Do you know the one of the last AMA warm-ups I did with the guy who runs Havoc Strength? You ever talked to him before?
no, but I know. Yeah, I actually did talk to him. I talked to him at the Arnold's. He was at the Arnold's once upon a time.
Yeah.
Whenever it wasn't Arnold's, it was the Masters
Okay.
Strongman. Yeah,
Yeah.
National something like.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked to him once years ago.
Okay. We had a segment where we were talking about that, and he said, he goes, the people want to blame injury a lot of times on this catastrophic event, which it does
Yeah,
happen, right? But
yeah,
most of the time, it's an issue of repeated effort that led you to that, right?
yeah,
You did the wrong thing for a decade, and then something happened,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I used a line from, it's going to be Kelly Starrett again, where he goes,
Hmm.
the amount of people that blow out their back picking up a pencil. And he
Hmm.
always used to go, he goes, man, that must have been a really heavy pencil, right? And he's
Yeah,
like, no, right? You didn't blow out your back. Like your dude didn't blow out his back picking up a, roll of toilet paper, right? Like it wasn't
yeah.
the toilet paper that blew it out,
No,
right? It was
yeah,
it was the years and years of priming himself to be in a situation to where he couldn't do something so simple, and there it went, right?
yeah.
So
It's. I think my. Can you hear me?
yeah, I still got you.
Uh, I think my headset's about to go down. Uh, Again, it wasn't the weight that hurt him. It wasn't the toilet paper. It
Yep,
was him that kind of hurt himself by the way that he had been
yep,
approaching training
yep,
for so long.
yep. So yeah, so if you're watching this and you haven't done anything wacky in the gym in a while, you should probably start doing that. So something that's a little
Yeah,
different than your normal squat, bench, deadlift with the straight bar kind of thing. So
and have fun. I mean,
yeah,
gee whiz, people. That's one of the things that I can't understand. I've been working out for a long, long time, and I can't understand how people don't have fun in the gym. I understand
yeah,
programming, sticking to a program. You got to have goals. You got to have measurable metrics to do anything with. You also got to have fun.
yeah,
So, and uh, the functional training is basically fun. It could
yeah,
be fun. It could be something that, and I try to incorporate something functional at least once a week. And sometimes I will make that my primary session for that month. Is I will revert to I'm going to have a functional month this month, and I'm still going to weight train, uh, but I'm not going to make that my focus for that month. I'm going
sure,
for this month. It's functional, and I don't, and I'll do a lot of balance stability things. Whether you're doing one leg balancing things, a lot of, you know, quick reflex type training, just stuff to have fun doing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I you were talking earlier about buying a new piece of equipment, right? And how if that motivates you and stuff. I've
Yeah,
I've used that over the years too, is going like sometimes that's a valid purchase because it
yeah,
reinvigorates that thing. You walk out into your garage and you go, I'm going to use that today and I'm excited kind of deal. That's a
yeah,
perfectly valid reason to buy something.
yeah, absolutely.
And then the one I forget who I saw it from. I think it was the dude who does Squat University. He said, he
Mhm.
goes, remember the fact that at some point you will perform your last squat. And he goes,
Yeah,
so up, remember that because now he goes, you should enjoy it, right? At a certain point, you won't be able to do that anymore, whether it's because you're too old or you just die, right? Whatever it might be.
yeah,
He's like, at a certain point, it will be your last time. So make sure that everything leading up to that is something you actually enjoy doing. Whether you find enjoyment in the difficulty or the pursuit of strength or whatever or something, or you don't at all, right?
mhm.
It's the same thing with recommendations for equipment. People are really easy to recommend, like you need a bar, a rack, a bench, and plates. And I'm like, you're talking to a 62-year-old, retired female teacher who has no interest in being a power lifter, has never lifted before, nothing. I just want her to be active, right? Like, could she do yoga? Yeah, cool, right? Like, start with something that will make you happy about what you're doing and move and groove and whatever is way better than buying a piece of equipment because you're supposed to that you won't ever use and you hate, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, man. Let's wrap it up. Last
All
piece.
right.
Last piece is tell me one reason why people should be excited about your upcoming AMA.
Uh, I am 100% open about anything. If you want to know the price of something to build it, uh, I'll tell you the price to build it. I'll tell you different tiers about how it can be built. Um, if you are interested in business, I love business. That's one of the things that uh, I am a student of just different businesses and business models. So, I like to hear other people's ideas and approaches to doing business. Uh, I've been basically a serial entrepreneur most of my life. Um, right now, we have three businesses that we're doing. Gorilla Strength is the one that I work at most of the time, but I actually have two other businesses that's running for like right now. Um, and it's I don't think that I don't think that you'll find anybody that will give you the perspective that I've in life experience that I've had on some issues. So ask anything you want. I'll give you the best answer based off of my knowledge that I have. If it's a question about anything that I've got knowledge about, and I'm really thick-skinned, so you can call me anything you want. I don't mind. I really don't. You can call me literally anything. I don't care. Um, and we can have a good conversation about anything that you want. And if you're ever in Litchfield, stop in and we'll sit down and eat a steak together and drink a beer. I mean, I'm a dude that is just out here getting after it, and a very, very approachable, very easy to hang out with.
I like it. Cool. One bonus one I want to ask you, make sure
Uh-oh.
people know. So, I know that you do a lot of community work, nonprofit
Yeah,
stuff, etc. Can
yeah.
you shed some light on that? Because when people do good
Uh,
things, I want to make sure people know that people do good things. So,
well, so whenever COVID hit, we started making pretty decent money. And one of the things that happened was I noticed in this area there was a lot of people that didn't have affordable housing.
yeah.
So we've got roughly 85 tenants now. So we've bought apartment complexes and houses, and we remodeled them. Basically, that's where I put most of our profit from Gorilla Strength now. And we buy things in places that are run down, that's infested with bad situations, and we remodel them. And right now, the current rate that I'm renting a freshly remodeled, see a two-bedroom, one bath, two bedroom bath and a half, 1,000 square foot apartment right now is running about $710. Uh, and those are really nice places. Uh,
So,
and that's
but sorry, real quick, before you move on, so what is the, let's call it going rate? Because that number here in California, that's not,
yeah.
you couldn't even rent part of a bedroom for that in some sections. So, like, what should you charge?
I should be charging well over $1,000.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, it's not should, I could charge that,
Yeah,
but
that's why I did the quotes,
yeah.
right? So, yeah.
Well, I'll give you for instance. We bought a 12 flex, and whenever we went in there, the place was ate up with roaches so bad that there was a girl that was my daughter's age that had to go to the hospital on two separate occasions because she'd smashed roaches in her ears while she was sleeping. They would crawl in and she'd smash them in her ears if she was sleeping with earplugs. So, and we spent it's about $30,000 is what I spent to rid the place of roaches.
Yeah.
And the reason that it got that way was because the previous landlord went through COVID where they stopped all of the evictions. Nobody was paying him, so he went almost 2 years without being able to evict anybody and
Uh,
without having any stable income. So what he
yeah.
did is it's called deferred maintenance. He just didn't do any maintenance on the apartment building. So that 12 flat it got where it was horrible. But at the other side of that, we were able to pick that whole apartment complex up at a decent price. Which, and like I said, I've had several licenses in different areas of construction before, and that allowed me to have the knowledge. First of all, the knowledge and the connections, because whenever you're a working man and other people know you're a working man and they know that you're doing something for a good reason, they will give you a break on. They don't try to take advantage of you. And that has allowed me to do stuff on remodeling work that other people simply couldn't do. If somebody was to place and hired contractors around here, everybody would have saw like a fat ball hog people and took advantage of it. But since they know me around here and they know what my guiding star is, and I'm able to get stuff done at a reasonable rate, which
Sure.
they know that I'm going to turn around and rent it to people at a reasonable rate. They know I'm not out to take advantage of people,
Yeah.
so they don't try to take advantage of me. And well, occasionally, but I've got an invoice up there on my wall where one of my buddies did take advantage of me. So I took a magnet and I put it on this steel beam right here. So every time that I walk by, I look at that and I think he charged me twice of what the going rate was because he didn't think I'd pay attention. But that the things we do in the community, like I said, I grew up really humble. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be ashamed to have people come over to your house. I know what it's like to. My mother made my clothes growing up. I mean, she sewed my clothes. I know what it's like to be made fun of whenever you go to school because of what you wear. Uh, and you know, my money never has motivated me. It just doesn't. What motivates me is, I'm a religious person. and I want to be able to answer for all my actions, and I want to be proud in my answers. And whether you believe in God or not, it doesn't matter. I think everybody should hold themselves to that standard. You know, are you proud of the life that you live? And can you, should need be, can you explain the reasons behind the decisions that you made? And are you proud of that explanation that you have to give? And that's, that's why I do a lot of the community things that I do is, you know, if I can make good money and not share my ability. Oh, my earpiece went dead. Can you
Uh,
still hear?
yeah, I got you.
Uh, if I can make good money and people trust me, it's like you. If you buy something from me, I feel like that you're trusting me with part of your money to do something with it.
Yeah.
Now, if you buy a bar from me, like one of our Oxel bars or something, and you give me that money, okay. But what if you gave me that money and you knew that I was going to spend it on hookers and cocaine? You feel good giving me that money. I'm just asking. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even though I would not owe you a responsibility for that,
Yeah.
still, I personally feel like whenever you buy something from me, you're entrusting me with your money to try to do more of it than just uh, ingratiate myself. Just, you know what I mean? Just to make it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not going in your bank account to add to your millions of dollars or get blown on something stupid, or it's putting food on your table, taking care of your family, your local community, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And
Yep.
I think that honestly, I think that everybody that has the ability to do that, you know what I mean, that has a business mind, that has the capability of generating money, should it take some part of their not, it doesn't have to be their money. It could be their skills,
Yeah.
some part of their skill set. Because if you've been, we're not all created equal. If you have been blessed with the ability to do certain things above and beyond what the average person can do, then I feel like that you should give part of that back to your community.
Yeah. Perfect. Let's end it there. I like that. So, uh, if you guys don't know, I'm going to tell David right now. David, you're one of my favorite people in the industry. We've connected for quite a while. I always appreciate our chats. Your honesty and transparency is something that I don't see from everybody, and the continued involvement in not only the home gym community but your local community is very admirable. So thank you for being you. So.
But
Uh, yeah. So, all right, everybody. That is the AMA warm up with my dude David from Gorilla Strength. He will be doing his AMA over on Reddit Home Gym in a couple of weeks. So come chat with him. I think he said you can call him whatever you want. So come over and call him. Call him an asshole. Ask him about grip training. Something else. I don't know what, but that'll be a fun one. He will have all kinds of good stuff for you, no matter what your questions are. And that's it. So, all right, dude. I appreciate the chat.
take care, guys.
See ya,
See
man.
you.